Right now at noon, a Milwaukee County judge is indicted by a grand jury. How the upcoming case against her could impact her future on the bench. Plus, President Trump lands in Qatar and inks a deal for the country to buy U.S. planes. The new concerns over the plane Qatar wants to give the president. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Josh Breiter. A Milwaukee judge is set to appear in federal court tomorrow in a case that has national attention. Judge Hannah Dugan has been indicted on federal charges accused of helping an undocumented immigrant evade ICE agents last month. She faces charges of obstruction and concealing an individual from arrest. Earlier today, Dugan filed a motion to dismiss the indictment. The case could impact her future on the bench. According to court documents, on April 18th, Judge Dugan confronted plainclothes immigration agents who were stationed in the hallway outside her courtroom. The agents were there to arrest a man appearing before her. Witnesses say Judge Dugan stopped the man and his attorney from exiting through the main doors and instead escorted them out a side exit typically used by jurors. Agents later caught up with the man outside and arrested him. A 7-year-old Orfordville man has died after a motorcycle crash in the town of Rock. Authorities say he lost control near South River Road and the Highway 11 bypass around 9 o'clock last night. He was thrown from the motorcycle and later died at the hospital. His name will be released by the Rock County Medical Examiner. A Madison woman is in custody after shooting at another person over a social media argument. Sunbury police say the 23-year-old woman and another person got into an argument online. The woman then drove to the person's house on Sweetgrass Drive near Uplands Park to continue the argument. At one point, the woman fired a shot. She did not hit anyone or cause property damage. Police stopped her and she admitted to firing. Authorities also found a stolen handgun. She now faces several charges. Right now, Madison police are investigating after a passenger hit a Metro bus driver. Two detectives were walking down past Main Street Monday morning when someone told them a driver needed help. Reports suggest the suspect boarded the back of the bus and refused to pay. When confronted by the driver about the fare, the suspect then punched the driver. That person has been arrested for battery to a public transit operator, resisting arrest, and 6 counts of bail jumping. Now to the latest on that devastating apartment fire in Milwaukee as investigators continue to search for answers. 5 people are dead and 6 remain in the hospital. Fire officials and investigators are trying to get answers. How did it start and how did it spread? Because other buildings could be at risk. They're preserving potential evidence by keeping the building secure. Meanwhile, survivors are trying to process the aftermath.
I'm still experiencing it. Even though the matter is over with, I watch people die, so I'll be getting some counseling.
The apartment building was not required to have sprinklers and was regularly inspected. So far, 114 people have been displaced. 29 spent the night at a Red Cross shelter. Well, we started off with some fog this morning, but temperatures rebounding nicely today. First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano has your certified most accurate forecast. He's out on the weather patio here in Madison. Great day to be outside, Jacob.
Yeah, very nice out here, partly sunny skies. So at the moment I'm talking, there is some cloud cover right now blocking the sun, so the temperature dropped a little bit once that happened. But when the sun's shining, it still feels very nice. Now looking at the current temperatures right now across the board, we are in the 70s, 74 in Madison. We actually are already in the lower 80s for a few areas just off to the west. The entire area expected to get into the 80s later today. Looking at the current radar, we are mostly dry right now. We could see a few very isolated showers, maybe a pop-up storm or two, but most of the area shouldn't see any rainfall during the day today. And then this may continue into the evening, but by the overnight hours will be dry, although we may see some more fog return, especially from Madison and areas to the east. So high temperatures today, right around 80 degrees for Madison, maybe into the middle 80s further west and only in the 70s further east, but still very comfortable across the board today. And as we take a look at the overnight temperatures, it's going to be another fairly mild morning. Lows will be dropping to near 60 degrees, and the mild temperatures will help create that fog that kind of what we saw this morning. And looking at tomorrow's forecast, we're going to see even warmer temperatures, but notice later in the day we have some thunderstorms expected, and some of those storms could be severe, which is why we have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow. So I'll talk through the details on that coming up a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll see you then. Thank you. Now to the state capitol, where a new bill headed to the Senate would make it easier to access birth control. The bill would allow pharmacists to prescribe birth control over the counter, allowing people to use their insurance without needing to go to a doctor first. Data from Public Health Madison-Dane County shows more than a quarter of the state's pregnancies are unplanned. With the bill, lawmakers hope to reduce the number of unplanned pregnancies. This could reduce the number of abortions and increase overall health outcomes.
The highest rate is among young women in poverty. These women are unlikely to finish school, and it will severely affect their potential earnings throughout their lives.
The bill is receiving wide bipartisan support in the Assembly. Madison Metro recorded 1.3 million bus rides last month. That is the highest monthly ridership the city has seen in nearly 6 years. Year over year, the A and B routes experienced a roughly 50% increase in ridership. Metro Transit attributes the growth to the launch of the city's new bus rapid transit network, along with millions in federal funding that have helped expand and improve service. President Trump has arrived in Qatar for the second leg of his Middle East trip. Before leaving Saudi Arabia, he met with the new president of Syria. Natalie Brand has more on that story.
President Trump touched down in Qatar, greeted with an elaborate arrival ceremony at the royal court. Before leaving Saudi Arabia, the president met privately with the new president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, alongside Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The White House says they discussed helping prevent the resurgence of ISIS and terrorism. President Trump also urged Syria to sign on to the Abraham Accords to normalize diplomatic ties with Israel.
I told him, I hope you're going to join when it's straightened out. He said yes. But they have a lot of work to do.
It comes a day after President Trump announced he would lift sanctions on Syria to give the country a new opportunity.
I think it's an important step in the right direction.
Brian Katulis of the Middle East Institute says Saudi Arabia pushed for the move to help stabilize the region.
This will help in the broader effort to actually signal to those in the region who want to stand up to Iran that they can actually do so through the political and economic means.
While the president is in Qatar today, there's increasing pushback here at home over the possibility he may accept a luxury jet from the small Gulf state.
Qatar's not, in my opinion, a great ally. I mean, they support Hamas, and so what I'm worried about is the safety of the President of the United States.
Today, President Trump said Qatar agreed to spend $200 billion to buy 160 U.S. planes made from Boeing. Boeing CEO was there for the signing ceremony and called it the largest jet order in the company's history. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
A college student who has lived in the U.S. since she was 4 is facing deportation after being pulled over in a traffic stop. 19-year-old Jimena Arias Cristobal, who was born in Mexico, was detained by ICE last week. Arias Cristobal was stopped by a police officer who mistakenly believed she had made an improper turn. The officer soon discovered she was driving without a license. Her father, who is an undocumented migrant, was also detained in April following a traffic stop. They're now being held in an immigration detention center in Georgia.
What scares you the most?
Not being able to stay in the United States after I've lived here my whole entire life. My life is here and I'm scared I'm going to have to start all over again in a country that I don't know.
Despite the dismissed traffic charges against Arias Cristobal, the Department of Homeland Security says the facts in this case have not changed. The department says she and her father are, quote, in this country illegally, and they have to face the consequences, end quote. Well, later tonight, the Green Bay Packers will learn their entire schedule for the upcoming season. This is a live look at Lambeau Field at this hour, where the NFL draft was held nearly 3 weeks ago now. So far, the Packers know they'll be playing the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football, November 10th. They'll also play Chicago Saturday, December 20th. We already know which teams the Pack will play this season. Tonight is just the revealing of the order of what they'll play those teams in. The full schedule will be released at 7 o'clock, and News 3 Now will be breaking down the release of the NFL schedule starting at 8 on Channel 3000+. Sports director Zach Hanley and Jason Wilde will be breaking down the Packers' full schedule along with other key NFL games right here on CBS. You can watch tonight's special on the Channel 3000 app or through channel3000.com. Still ahead for us this afternoon, why Microsoft plans to cut its workforce, plus the summer blockbuster season is nearly here, how AMC Theaters is trying to attract more moviegoers.
Consumer Price Index rose 2.3% in April compared to last year. That's slightly lower than economists had predicted, but still higher than the Federal Reserve's goal of 2%. The number was driven by high housing costs and an uptick in energy prices, like electricity and natural gas, despite lower prices at the pump. Grocery prices dropped 0.1% compared to March, with the price of eggs down more than 12%. Microsoft says it plans to cut 3% of its workforce. The layoffs are expected to impact roughly 6,000 employees around the world, according to the Associated Press, at multiple employment levels, though the tech giant says there's a focus on reducing the number of managers for streamlining purposes. And AMC Theaters is making a push to attract more moviegoers on weekdays. Starting July 9th, the company will slash adult movie ticket prices on Wednesdays by 50% for AMC Stubs members at all locations nationwide. The discounts affect all showings all day long and will include all formats, including Real 3D and IMAX, though extra charges for premium formats still apply. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's a look at the current stock numbers at the noon hour. The Dow's down 91 points, NASDAQ up 105, and the S&P 500 up 4. Our Call for Action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. Pam has today's farm numbers next, and Jacob returns with the first warn forecast. Then later on Live at 4, why researchers say a proposal to ban cell phones in schools could be hard to implement. Welcome back this afternoon. Let's check in now with the Farm Babe, Pam Yankee, for the Midwest Farm Report. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Josh. Yeah, the perfect day to be talking about weather. It's all Wisconsin farmers are focused in on right now. Yesterday, when that light rain was coming through, I saw a couple guys literally sitting in the field, in the tractor, waiting to see if the rain was going to amount to much so they could keep on planting. Wisconsin is getting a little bit more information about that weather thanks to the WISC-net. I had a chance to take a field trip with Chris Bagaski, who is coordinating WISC-net. It is a mesonet across the state of Wisconsin that basically has, by the end of this summer, about 80 different weather stations that are going to be all over the state. It's designed to give people real-time information on weather conditions near them. And it's not just about wind, it's not just about rain or anything like that. Some of these stations are also going to be giving soil information for farmers and emergency planners. Let's face it, if we get into a situation where we're looking at exceptionally dry conditions, like a drought, or maybe flood-like conditions, obviously more common in spring, then these tips will also be able to help folks notice that and prepare for that. Again, like I said, with real-time information. These stations, some of them costing as much as $12,000, are going to be up all across the state. In fact, when I was talking with Chris at their Arlington location, he said that they were going to be installing 2 new locations this week. So again, like I said, go to that website, wisconet.wisc.edu. wisconet.wisc.edu. It's a pretty slick tool. I've been using it a couple different times this week to get a grip on weather around the state. Well, we're getting a grip on what's happening as far as the markets are concerned. Earlier this week, we got a World Ag Supply Demand report that was out. Everybody kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with the corn numbers. You know, quite frankly, our farmers are doing such a fantastic job of getting corn planted, and the weather forecast, at least on the short term, looking so favorable, that's been undermining any kind of gains that we might have seen in corn. Now, the soybeans, they are a little bit more optimistic, paying attention to the possibilities of China coming back to the marketplace. So those are just 2 of the news items that are kind of influencing our grain trade today. Dairy, interesting here. Barrel cheese was up just 1/4 cent at $1.77 1/4, but the 40-pound block cheese gained 6 3/4 cents to $1.84 3/4. Today, the AA butter is the one that went to the sideline, standing still at $2.34 1/4 per pound. Yeah, it was nice to get out there and see that technology planted in the middle of a farm field that's generating great weather information that farmers are going to turn to on a regular basis, Josh.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of an impact something like that can have for so many farmers, Pam.
Yeah, very slick how the dashboard has been upgraded. So if you've been there once, check back and see what it looks like now.
I love it. All right, Pam, thanks for all the information today. We appreciate it.
See you later, buddy.
And if you have a question or concern about your plants or garden, now's the time to send us your questions via email to tips@channel3000.com. Later today on Live at 4, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will be here with the answers. Again, that is tips@channel3000.com. And if you are unable to watch Live at 4, you can still watch the show and the answers over on our YouTube channel. Alert day conditions are in the forecast for tomorrow. First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano is tracking it all for us. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, those alert day conditions are going to begin, especially in the afternoon tomorrow, as those temperatures will remain warm. But after that rain moves through, it will be a lot cooler by the time we get to the weekend. So looking at the alert day information, we are going to see potentially all severe weather hazards, including large hail, strong winds, and possibly even an isolated tornado. Mainly for the afternoon and evening, should be dry through at least about noon. Now, taking a look at the severe weather outlook, enhanced risk for Madison and areas to the north and east. Slight risk in southwestern Wisconsin, but everyone will see the potential for those strong storms. As far as the most likely hazards, that's going to be large hail, but strong winds and a few isolated tornadoes are definitely possible. Flooding, not a big concern considering we haven't really seen rain in the past week and a half. Now, as we take a look at future track, like I mentioned earlier, we could see a few very isolated showers and pop-up storms today, but for the most part, we're not going to see much for the rest of today. We will see that fog return for Thursday morning, and we'll actually start out the day pretty sunny. But as we get towards the afternoon, we'll start to see some of those showers and thunderstorms form, especially in southwestern Wisconsin. And the big reason why the southwestern portion of the state is under a little bit lower of a severe weather outlook is because it's very possible that those of you in Platteville and Prairie du Chien, the storms form just to the northeast of you, and then in that case, you folks wouldn't see any. But pretty much from Madison areas to the east, northeast, we are expected to see those thunderstorms roll through. Looks like for Madison, the best chance will be around that 4 to 5 p.m., maybe extending to 6 p.m. time range. And then areas to the east and northeast, you'll see that a little bit later. I also want to point out that areas to the east northeast also have the best chance to see those severe thunderstorms, as if they do form, kind of around the western portion of Dane County, they're going to be a lot stronger once they get to you for those of you in Jefferson and Dodge counties. Now, this will clear out roughly around 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then we're going to see sunshine before sunset to end the day. But we're also going to see very strong winds outside of the thunderstorm. So for the rest of today, just some minor gusty winds, nothing too bad. But they're going to gust up to around 25 to 30 miles per hour in the afternoon. And then as we get towards the evening hours, very strong winds off to the southwest, not quite as strong for areas northeast. And then they're going to calm down overnight Thursday before they pick back up during the afternoon on Friday. And this is when those temperatures are going to start to cool down, as wind gusts will be up around 40 miles per hour. And they're also going to be out of the west-southwest or west-northwest by the time we get to Saturday, where high temperatures will only be in the 60s. And those 60s are going to continue for much of next week. So the 80s we're seeing right now, they're only going to last through tomorrow. And then for Friday, it depends on when those winds really pick up. But we could see temperatures, get up close to 80. But by Saturday, we're probably not even going to get to 70. And that's going to continue for a lot of next week with more rain chances by Tuesday and Wednesday. So definitely stay tuned for the forecast tomorrow evening. We'll have live updates if any severe weather does form.
All right, we'll be watching, Jacob. Thank you. Now let's see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Want to give your taste buds a trip to the South Pacific? You can, and there's no passport required. If going to the South Pacific is on your bucket list, then you better start saving. Just for the fun of it, I checked out what the average airfare is, and let me tell you, it's a pretty penny. So while you're saving, I have just the thing so you can have the taste of the South Pacific without leaving home. All we do is saute a few thick-cut pork chops that we seasoned with a bit of salt and pepper. After both sides are golden, we take them out of the skillet. And in the same pan, we add the juice that we drained from a can of pineapple, a good amount of ketchup, a bit of water, some brown sugar, and a splash of apple cider vinegar. After this comes together, we toss in some chunked up pineapple, some sliced carrots, and a green pepper that we cut into chunks. Once the sauce heats up, we put the pork chops back in to cook through. Then fasten your seatbelt, because your taste buds are in for a tropical treat. Serve this over some white rice, which is perfect to soak up all that sauce. Do yourself a favor. Head over to our website now so you can enjoy our South Pacific pork chops as soon as tonight. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a tropical way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
And we're going to see temperatures very comfortable today, highs near 80, even warmer Thursday before the alert day in the afternoon and evening, cooler by the time we get to the weekend.
All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you with more live at 4.